Hello everyone, I'm Jack Fisher and welcome to my world. And when it comes to finding quality comic book gems, you sometimes have to look beyond the cover, the premise, and your immediate reaction to it. I know it's a frequent refrain, not judging a book by its cover, but let's be honest. We do that a lot more than we care to admit. And because of that, we never give certain books a chance. Books that may very well turn out to be genuine gems. So with that in mind, I want you to temper your immediate reaction when I highlight a comic called Aliens vs. Zombies. I know, believe me, I know what you're probably thinking right now. I thought the same thing when I saw it. Like the movie Snakes on a Plane, there's no real ambiguity as to what it's about. It sounds dumb. It looks dumb. It's the kind of premise you'd expect from a third grader half-assing a creative writing assignment. But this is a real comic. Published by Zenescope, written by Joe Bruscia, and drawn by Vincenzo Riccardi. These may not be big-time names working for a big-time publisher, but they do indeed attempt to tell a real story with this premise. Albeit one that's bizarre, eclectic, and more violent than you think. It's one of those comics that doesn't seem to have anything going for it, and no reason to be anything more than a shallow gimmick. And yet, it turns out to be a genuinely good comic. Hell, I'll take it a step further. I think it's a genuinely great comic. One that might very well be the most unexpected gem I've ever read. Now, I'm not saying it's the second coming of Watchmen or The Dark Knight Returns. It's just one of those comics that ends up being so much better than the circumstances would have you believe. Again, the premise isn't subtle, nor is it sophisticated. It starts with a zombie apocalypse, as the title would imply. The setup is basic. A meteor crashes to Earth, and it just happens to be carrying a zombie virus. Now, that may seem contrived on the surface, but it's actually a relevant detail for later in the story. That's actually a trend that emerges quickly with this comic. Plot points that are typically generic and predictable actually have some narrative connections. Things don't just happen for no reason. There is a more cohesive story at work here. It just takes a while to get to it. The early parts of the story don't really try to reinvent the zombie apocalypse genre. Once the outbreak begins, we see plenty of familiar scenes. From cities being overrun, to militaries being deployed, to governments collapsing, to people banding together and trying to fight back. These are all common tropes for a standard zombie story. And before the zombie apocalypse plot gets too familiar, aliens arrive. They enter the picture and add a unique twist to everything. And it's here where the story really starts to shine. The aliens in this case aren't like E.T., the Xenomorphs, the Skrulls, or the Romulans. They're not conquerors, nor are they looking to blow up a planet just for the fun of it. They're an alien task force of scientists led by Nova, a female captain from the planet Sarkillian. Their mission was to track this interstellar virus and wipe it out wherever it went. Because apparently, Earth isn't the first planet this virus has infected. In fact, Sarkillian was one of the first planets it ravaged, ultimately destroying what had been a peaceful, prosperous world. And now, Earth is next. This added complexity helps make the stakes more personal. These aliens don't show up randomly, and this virus doesn't just pop up because some random lab had a subpar containment procedure. It's a real interstellar threat that other intelligent alien species have dealt with. And many have died as a result. Entire worlds have been ravaged, and stemming that spread is in everyone's best interest, human and alien alike. That setup helps add extra weight to the action, especially after the aliens initially failed in trying to stop the virus. It's later revealed that such failure has been a common occurrence, and many alien worlds have fallen because of it. The Sarkillians do have a cure, and they did try to use it on Earth, but it didn't go as planned. In that sense, even the aliens in this story are prone to human error. But that failure doesn't end the mission. Captain Nova and her squad of diverse aliens, many who've seen their home worlds destroyed by this same virus, now have to team up with humanity to stop the plague. Unfortunately, the only humans they come across happen to be a bunch of criminals who've somehow managed to avoid becoming undead. Led by Colt and Melissa, these are not soldiers, superheroes, or paragons of virtue. These are the kinds of people who are more likely to burglarize your house rather than save the planet. But they're the only ones capable of helping Captain Nova. And, criminal or not, they have a vested interest in saving the planet from a zombie apocalypse. They're not the most complex characters in the history of comics, but they do come off as distinctly human. The kind you don't expect to step up in the face of extinction, but still want to cheer on when they do. As a result, things get messy, and bloody, and violent. That's plenty common in a story featuring zombies, but adding aliens, alien weapons, and a hint of sexual tension to the mix, that just amplifies the overall spectacle. And it evolves into quite a spectacle as the story plays out. You don't just get moments of badassery seeing humans and aliens work together to kill zombies. There are still moments of introspection and interaction, which help flesh out Captain Nova and her Sarkillian ways, as well as Colt and his overtly human ways. There are also moments that take dramatic turns, some from the humans, some from the zombies, and some from the aliens. There are times when the humans are the real assholes. There are times when the aliens are the assholes. There is some treachery, backstabbing, and outright stupidity on both sides. But despite all this bloody, zombie-fueled chaos, the story never gets derailed. It somehow manages to stay concise, compelling, and engaging. You understand the motivations, even from those who make objectively dumb decisions. You can also understand the plot, even when it's not as basic as the initial premise. It's just one of those stories you expect to lose interest in after a few pages, but it somehow keeps you wanting more, right up until that final page. Now, I freely admit I bought this comic during a flash sale for just a couple bucks. And I really didn't expect Aliens vs. Zombies to be anything more than a generic story with a juvenile premise. But by the time I was done reading it, I wasn't just pleasantly surprised, I felt like I got way more out of this book than I do with most comics. Again, it's not the most complex or revolutionary story. Aliens vs. Zombies will not go down in history as one of the best comics ever written. But for a story with such a simple title, it found a way to exceed expectations and become a legitimate comic book gem. I still understand those who think a comic named Aliens vs. Zombies can't be anything other than a joke. But, and I know it's still cliche, don't judge a book by its cover or its premise. If you're looking for something different but fun, give this comic a try. You might be surprised by just how much you enjoy it. Like the rest of my gems, I'll leave an Amazon link in the description. Thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for joining me in my world. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more of Jack's Comic Gems. Until next time, take care and stay safe.